live streamed, which it does. And now it says the meeting is being live streamed. Okay. So we'll have to stop swearing now. And I'll just make sure that this is gone on. Now, do you want me to tag you onto your page then? Okay.
Yes, please.
Okay, I'll do that. Just take a sec or two. So just bear with me. And then we'll have like a formal... Yeah, old techie, yeah. Too old for all this nonsense. Right, there we go. So that's that. I even remembered to turn the sound down, so that's good. Dee's here and Joanne's here. Hello, girls. Nice to see you. So that's working okay. So in the comment box, if I put like this, if I go at, and then do a K somewhere along the line. There you are. And then go, I'll put a kiss as well. There you go. Right, well, that's gone to your page now. So if you want to do what you want to do, we can then start.
Yes, we can.
We could be formal and say, hello, Kristin.
Hi, Dr. Joe.
Yeah, Vorden, how did that?
To be here. Thank you for having me.
It's a pleasure, and it's lovely to see it. And as they say, tack för sist.
Wow, du snackar norsk?
No, that's all I got. I know this is about language, but I've only just learned 3 phrases in Norwegian. Vorden har det det. I don't know why they put the det on the end. There's no need for that, in my opinion. But there you go. You know, I'm only learning. But tack för sist, right, is like, thank you for meeting me in Houston. Because it almost suggests that that's like, thank you for seeing me last time we met. My understanding. Would that make some sort of sense?
Yes. Oh, yes. And also you said safe travels in Norwegian to me on my Facebook when I went back.
I did.
You have a good pronunciation also.
It was good to see your reaction there. I like that. It was good. So I'll say this in English now. How the devil are you?
I'm good. I'm tired. Had a very active Kundalini for a couple of weeks now. And since last night, it's like I constantly hear light language. It's like, yeah. So it's just integration with everything from we were in Houston, and then it's, right on to Christmas and, family, and then it's, activations and downloads, and yeah, it's everything at the same time.
Well, I don't know what's going on. There's one part of me that understands fully exactly what's going on, because I have a trust and a faith and a deep understanding and feeling that there's more and more emerging, right, as we go along. And my view is that I've gone from being like a know-all, knows everything and really knew nothing, to I've got no idea. And I'm much more comfortable now not knowing, and I get clearly told, that I was an egomaniac. Well, that's all right. That's all right. I'm working on it, But as the ego starts to dissolve and normalize, we start to get a more expanded understanding of what everything is. And that's my personal experience, really. And I don't think that the ego can dissolve itself, And I think people do, my understanding is that we can say, oh, I mustn't judge. Oh, I mustn't do this. And that's the ego having a go at the ego, So yes. I think my understanding is, right, that you have to just surrender to this thing here and say, look, I really don't know what to do. I trust you with all my heart and all my soul. I give you my life. I give you all my body. I give you my cells. I give you absolutely everything. Please give us a clue what to do next. And that's basically what I say every day.
Yes. Yeah, it tends to be when we surrender the most, we get the most guidance, which is the opposite of what the ego would think.
Yeah. And I'm glad that I did that, because that happened to me. For people who've not met me before, or just a quick. And don't worry, we're not going to spend all this time explaining things if anybody's bothered about that, Susan. But what this basically about is I put something up about glossolalia, and glossolalia is just a posh way of saying speaking in tongues, you know, and it's gone on for quite a long time, apparently, right? And can I just say, you know this anyway, Kristin, I'm not a religious person at all. In fact, I'm a scientist. I fall more towards quantum science, you know, because I do feel that science and mysticism and spirituality are all merging together now. And for me, I think religion, and this is only me, I'm not knocking anybody, religion in a way has maybe got in the way of that understanding, and that's being cleared away now. Do you think I was like diplomatic in the way I said that then?
Very much so, and I totally agree that that really aligns with the way I see things as well. Yes.
Because I was told, I'm going to get in trouble now, I can feel it coming. I was told that religion is for people who are afraid to go to hell, and spirituality is for people who've already been there.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I do sense that you've got to go through a bit of stuff before you start to get the message, you know. And we've talked about this before, you know, that I think it's almost like humanity's going through a really tough time now, so that they can just basically let go and surrender to the next level of their own personal evolution.
Yes. Yeah, because we tend to hold on as long as we can to any sense of control, and, you know, just keeping status quo, or, you know, what we perceive as safe, because it's only the familiar. Even though that's, you know, it's a program as well, because we don't need struggle in order to grow. So I think that's an important thing to remember as well.
Yeah, I think some wise people have called it effortless effort from now on.
Yes.
It's just emerge, just wait till the next sort of information and action comes up, almost like on a plate, and take action on that right in front of you now. And I think that that's the way it seems to work, is the more I trust, the more effortless it becomes, really.
Yeah.
So can I ask you a question? Nothing personal, don't worry. Other than,
here we go.
when did this like light languagey thingy majiggy start to happen to you?
Yeah, I was just thinking of it, and I think it might have been around 2016. Yes.
Okay, and how did it just like pop up, or?
I had no idea what it was. I actually thought I was talking some sort of a language, like human language. Because what happened the first time I went into a trance site, I really didn't know what it was. It just happened, and I started making weird noises and talk, and my ex, he was just, you know, filming as it happened, and he was like, this is probably something we should, you know, understand. And then with some time, I got to know that it's, you know, called light language, and that it's basically frequencies, and it develops. I mean, some people talk about it as different languages, some talk about it as different dialects, but it's definitely different types of like dialects or languages that comes through. And also more and more for the last couple of years, more and more tones as well, which I wouldn't really be able to make if I wasn't in that state. But for me, the difference, like when I go into a like full trance channel, then I will have like my eyes closed and everything. And light language, I tend to be able to open my eyes as well. So it's like a closer state to my normal state, and I can hear it. Yeah. When did it start to come through for you?
Well, I think to do that one, even when I was a child, my mum used to tell me off for talking gibberish, really, because I've always messed around a lot, really, you know, and you know, when you're speaking to babies and it's, you know, they see, you know, it's almost like that's part of that thing, really.
Yeah.
And I thought the more humorous and the more I'm light-hearted, the more these things come through, you know.
Yeah.
And I remember when I was a child, you know, I had a puncture on my bike, you know, my ordinary bike, and I was fixing the puncture, and I was turning the wheel. I don't know why I'm talking about this now. I'm just going with it. I was turning the wheel, and suddenly I was transported into this place of just peace and understanding and everything, you know. And this is only looking back that I can remember that.
Right.
But
yeah.
I always remember that when I had these experiences, I always felt depressed for a long time afterwards. It's though I hit here he comes now. You know, it's like it like smacks me on the back of the head like that and says, "Hey, our son, we're with you." I don't understand it, Kristin. I just go with it. So I'm doing this thing here now, whether that vibration and that the stroboscopic effect of the spokes, but I was transported, and it happened more than a few times, to this place of beauty and understanding and peace. And it was just like being home, you know, but when I got back to the earthly dimension, or this 3D realm, or whatever we can call it, I felt so sad, so depressed, you know. And my mum and dad were always worried about me when I was a kid, you know, because you know, they called me oversensitive and super sensitive and over imaginative and all that. But I understand now that they were worried about me, you know, and didn't understand, you know. So I think it's been with me all my life. It used to come out when I was on the drink. You know, when I drank, it used to come out, and I would go to the Chinese. I think I mentioned this to you. I would go to the Chinese chip shop, you know, or the restaurant, and I would start coming out with this archaic Chinese, and they'd be looking at me as if to say, "Why are you saying that?" Oh, I'm going to get in trouble here doing a Chinese accent, but you know, why are you speaking it like that? You know, and I'm going, you know, so. And what I found out is, and in that thing I've put up on Glossolalia, there's a lot of neuroscientific evidence now behind this.
That's amazing. It's the first time I channeled light language. What I said afterwards was, I wish someone could just put electrodes on my head and find out what's going on, because that part of it is so interesting, because it's definitely nothing I'm like making up, because I don't have that fantasy, but I would love to understand what's actually going on in the head. And you know,
and I, like you, and I know this, you know, I don't want to be deluded, and I don't want to delude or do anything, you know. I want this to be the truth. And how do I know it's the truth? I can only suggest that I only know it's the truth because of the feelings that I get, you know. And I know Denise Chadwick has done light language for years and stuff like that as well. I had a quick sort of text chat with her today, just to say that it's not about understanding the words, because the words are, in my view, and I could be wrong, and if I'm wrong, I don't care, you know. If somebody wants to give me the correct information, that's fine. All I'm interested in is getting this information out, so that it can help more people understand that there's maybe a lot more going on in the invisible dimensions than we could possibly realize. And what I was trying to say is that it's not the words that are important, it's how it makes you feel and what it actually does to you. Because like Tesla said, it's really all about energy, frequency, vibration. That's how you're going to understand really the universe itself, really.
Yeah. And I think actually that part of it is some of what has been really important for me on my journey, because it does bypass the mind. And my mind tends to have a need to understand things, and it can't understand light language, but the frequency, it goes into the system anyways. You know, so I think that's an important part of it, yet also challenging.
Yeah, and sometimes as well, when it comes through, I'm starting to get a bit of understanding as it's coming in, you know, because I sometimes just get phrases that pop out. Call this education for evolution, Joe. I thought, oh, that's a good one. Now, the old Joe used to think I've just made that up. No, you haven't. You've just been fed with the lines. And that's what I got today. It's almost like being on the stage and you're being fed with the lines, you know. But it's coming that quickly. I couldn't stop to go into my head to think about what's coming. I know you understand this and know what I mean, because it's almost like Joe's here and this other thing's happening at the side of it like that.
Exactly. Yes.
So the neuroscience says, because there's been, you know, electroencephalograms done on this now to suggest that it's not coming from the normal language centers, because they're based upon previous memories, right, of sounds and understandings of sound. So this bypasses memory and just comes through beyond memory. Now that's important to me, you know. It's called, I mean, the posh word I use is extemporaneousness, means to speak and to live without a script. So there's no script here, it's just coming out,
presence,
you know, in the present moment, you know. So I don't know how this is going to work really, because when I was over in Houston, or when we were over in Houston, that's the first time I met you.
Yes.
We sat together, you know, there's always a reason. See, here it comes now again. I hope I don't start that again, you know. But I don't, you know, I don't try and understand this now, other than some sort of a deep thing happened to me there, and I just started to sob like a baby. And it was almost like a deep, deep, ancient connection from the past, you know.
Yes.
And it doesn't really matter exactly what it means. It's just a deep soul connection, you know. And I feel that now, and it's coming up now, you know. And it's almost as if that our meeting was planned by other than ourselves, you
Yes.
know, for a reason. And I think that this is probably the reason. And
Mm.
I'm feeling it now. And when I got it as well, is I got the blue beings as well, you know, because I know that you feel, or you know that you're being helped by 8 blue beings,
Yeah.
right? And I got that image today, just popped up, and there was 8 of them. I thought, that's Andy, you know what I mean?
That was so perfect.
And so this is what happens. It's like things fall into place, and I get, put that up, Joe, put that up, you know.
Yeah.
So when we were doing that thing, and you know, hopefully we'll have a go again in a minute, you know, because I don't know, Kristin, what's happening to you, really.
Yeah, I think it was interesting because when we were there, when we met that last day on Sunday, we said hello, and then I said, you know, I have to tell you that I got this thing this morning. And then you followed up by saying, hey, but I just need to tell you because I got this thing last night. And it was the same thing. And that was to go into a conversation with light language. And that's what we did there. And the experience for me was really multidimensional, obviously, but in a different way than I've experienced it before, because it was like being drawn sort of back into past, really, really past memories, what we would term as past. And I was deeply present in the moment. And I also felt drawn into the future. So it was like all these timelines at the same time. And then when we had a chat about a week ago, I also had these visions, you know, these like old roles, like these scriptures coming into the spine and all these signs being on it, that we're just coming into the spine and really moved through the body, through the nervous system. And that's also the first time I had sort of, I sometimes get visions while I channel light language, but not as much as I've gotten at that time. And last time I also had a sense of understanding some of it. Really like the connection through the galactic center as well. Yeah, so it really feels more of a, I would say that before light language have made me feel like connected, but now it's almost like it's activating remembrance. So it's like a deeper layer than only connecting me. That's my experience in our connection.
Same, exactly the same. Couldn't have said it better myself. Right. And I don't understand it fully. It will develop as we go along. I'm sure it will. And I mentioned to you before is that maybe we could do a few of these and leave, because there'll be people probably listening to this that maybe don't know anything about the language of light or glossolalia or speaking in tongues and stuff like this, you know. But in 1987, during the period of the harmonic convergence, this all came back to bite me on the bottom, really, and it started to pour out. And at the time, I didn't know what was going on. I was diagnosed with psychosis. I was diagnosed with schizophrenia. I was diagnosed with, they couldn't really put a label on me, you know, but they called me, I was said that to be in a psychotic state, and I was put on all sorts of medications and basically imprisoned in a psychiatric department because I was trying to smash my head against the wall and let it all come out now. And that's happening to me again. It's happening quicker and quicker, but I don't get emotionally overwhelmed by it now because I've learned over time to step away from the emotional connection, but just to be aware. So it's almost like I'm being able now through breathing and through creating space to actually regulate the information as it's coming in and process it in a different way. And just to say that I think all highly sensitive people, let me do that again, all highly sensitive people, as far as I know, right, and I've experienced, and I've been doing this quite a while, they tend to be manipulators.
You
They
think?
tend to be manipulators extraordinaire because they can't stand all the information coming in. So they tend to try and manipulate the external environment, people, places, and things in order to help them to control their emotional state. And I realized today that that's who I was. That's what I was. That's what I've still got the tendency to do. Right. But I have to learn to regulate my emotional processes and
Yes.
not point the finger. Because if I point the finger, right, it means I'm trying to blame something outside of myself. And this is just Dr. Joe talking now. I
Yes.
know now that I am 100% responsible for regulating my emotions through breathing and through surrender. I've got there. Look, I've become like the preacher again. I'm going to hand over to you quickly to say, is that right? Is that wrong? Does it make sense?
It makes total sense. I think that's, from we are children, we don't really learn to or how to handle emotions. And so we either suppress them or we project it out, or we, do something to try to dissociate. Or so I think coming back to the body, understanding that we are not emotions, we are not the thoughts, we are energy in a physical body, and our body needs to ground. So it's the surrender is both allowing whatever needs to come out and come through, and it's also surrendering into actually being physical, actually being in the body and choosing to be in the body. Because that's also when if we are overwhelmed, by the emotions, by the thoughts, by whatever is happening to us, if we suddenly start making these really weird noises, right? And then we're like, oh, I surrender to it, and we disconnect from the body and try to connect to this other thing because we are not really integrating things. That's also when there can be a miss, and because we really need to be in the body and to ground.
I agree, and I know that we've talked about this, and I think there's I'll say it's the Alcoholic Anonymous big book, and I follow that, if you like my Bible, because it keeps me in the day, it keeps me in my body, and it keeps me able to remain relatively emotional, calm, and clear-minded. But it says, above all, and there's no more above alls in the book, it says, above all, we must reject fantasizing.
Yes.
Right. And I was a great fantasist in all sorts of different ways. I was completely disconnected. My head was up in the cloud, up in the clouds all the time.
Yeah.
And basically, I didn't want to be here in this 3D dimension. And I know now that I've got a job to do. It's a responsibility. It's almost like I picked it. I said, I'll go down there and I'll try my best, to see what I can do, Yeah. But I know that I have a tendency, right, to sneak back into that fantasizing and over exaggeration. And, I don't want to do that. I just want to be simple, straightforward, direct, but completely grounded and in my body. And I feel wholeheartedly that that's probably the best way for the spiritual community to go. But I'm not trying to set myself up here as any leader or teacher. I'm just saying this is what I feel is true for me.
Yes. Yeah, and it's the same. It's what I have experienced, through my healing journey, like the physical healing journey, and integrating everything. Because I was really open since I was a child. I could see, spirits. I had my Native American guide, in my room. I remember where he was. I did not have lions underneath my bed. I had my Native American chief with me. I remember my grandmother being with me because she passed away before I got born. I feel I know her because she's always been with me. But then as I grew older and I understood that not all people see these things, I tried to be normal. And, I was this good girl, people pleasing, good grades, going into the university, wanted to be normal. And I was running away from everything. And the more I was running away from it, at the same time as, I got a tick bite and everything that affected me physically. And I was running away from my own field. And I was so vulnerable for any energy coming in because everything was wide open. Now, I am a channeler, which I didn't know at that time. So I am open because I'm supposed to take through energies. But I did not ground my body. I did not have control over my field. And so I was, they could just walk over me at any time and I would pass out on the street if it you know, just passing the graveyard, for example. So it was really, really intense. But then at a point, you know, I didn't have a life really because I was so sick.
Yeah.
Physically that was, and I really understood that I need to actually pay attention to this as well, and then starting to integrate and understand that I need to hold my own energy. Wherever there is something coming in, there is a door open for them to come in and hook in, and that's mine to clear. I'm the one who's actually supposed to fill this field and understand how all of this actually works. So I think just the integration of it and understanding that the physical and the energetic is real. It's the combination we can't reject being energy and being only physical, because it doesn't work. We are energetic beings, and we can't reject the physical body and only being out in the galactic frequency either. Like, we are both.
Lovely. I agree. And I know that we've talked about this before, but it's just sort of to put this into context for maybe new people and, you know, and other people who are more experienced than this. And by all means, you know, if you've got any comments to make them, and I'll have a look at them later. And I can't promise to get back to anybody because I'm overwhelmed with stuff to do, you know, because I've got like 40 dissertations to mark at the moment with my university work, you know, and I've realized that I've diluted myself too thin recently. And I'm going to have to, like you've just said, plug the leak from the inside. And sometimes plugging the leak says, I'm awfully sorry, but I'm too busy at the moment. And it's not meant to be curt or cut through or crude or anything like that. It's just, look, I'm sorry, but I've got no time at the moment, you know. So that's where I'm up to.
If there are like certain questions and we come back and do more of this, we can use some of those questions and talk about it in the next one.
Well, if you're up for it, I am, and I'm sure that those invisible look, you know, when I do that, like I could feel it.
Your words.
You know, I got this. So I'm just, with your permission, I'm just going to put up 4 PowerPoint slides just to try and explain to people how I see things. Now, it's just the way I see things, and it's just the way that my mind works to try and explain things. So it might make no sense whatsoever, but just bear with me, and it'll only take about 5 minutes just to go through it. But this is where I'm up to with understanding. And Kristin, like I've said to you before, I only ever feel like I'm just scratching the surface of what's possible here. And I honestly feel that for very many reasons, the human race has been oppressed and almost like captive in some sort of slavedom, you know. And I'm not going to go too deeply into that, but I think we're being given the opportunity now to pop out and express ourselves from the deepest soul level possible. I think, you know, so just let me try and put this up and see. So if I just go to, where is it now? Just bear with me while I do this a sec. So if we go here like that, seriously light-hearted, I've called this, or you are an idiot. Okay. So I'll go, I'll go here. I'll come back to there. I'll go here again. God, you're flaming useless, you are, honestly. So we'll go there. There we are. So just meditate while you wait. Where have you gone? Oh, there you are over there. What are you doing hiding over there? Right. So share screen. Okay, don't tell me what to do. I'll go there like that. So you should be able to see that there.
Yes.
Okay, good. So let's go to full screen.
There we go.
So I've gone blue. We've called this blue, electric blue, because that popped into my head when I was talking to Elsa Dillon the other day. Blue, electric blue. David Bowie is with me, God knows, all the time, really. Aladdin Sane and all that. I've got this thing about David Bowie, or he's got this thing about me. And also I got Let's Dance as well. I thought, how very appropriate, right? Kristin, Let's Dance, blue, electric blue. So I put that up. But I also put that up as well, Joe, because in the beginning, apparently was the word. So sound came first, And it was basically the sound and the vibration of sound that almost like opened the door of the sort of deep, dark womb of the mother, and light was formed, you know. And I think that that's, you know, in my mind, I can sort of understand that. But is it true? I've got no idea, but I'm happy with it, you know. So that's it, really. And something that keeps coming back to me is the star, you know, and we're at that follow the star Christmassy period. And this, I always get this. This is Sirius C to me. And I don't know why, but I keep getting told, Joe, they're trying to deny the existence of Sirius C. Your job is to say, no, it's true. It's here. It's a unifying force, and it's based upon the sacred feminine. And I say, well, thanks very much. Anything else? No, I just shut up and follow the star. So that's what I'm doing. And it's all blue again. So there you go. But it's really about this. There's the star. Now, look, that's very complicated, right? But this, to me, represents us on the planet Earth. And I don't know whether you can see that there, but right at the center is a human being. And right at the center of the human being, right, is a sort of a square bit there. And I honestly believe that that's where the soul is. And that's the heart chakra. And I think that, because I also think as well, and I won't spend too much on this, but I also think that that's the 13th sign of the zodiac as well. And it's associated with Ophiuchus. It's associated with Imhotep. It's associated with the Christ beginning with a K. And I think that if we can help people more and more through what we do, is to get back in touch with that there, then that energy from there will guide them, rather than any external thing. And so if we take that small bit there, and these are the invisible dimensions, you know, there's all sorts of different harmonic universes here. That's a time for another day. But if we just take this middle bit here, we get this. And this has been playing on my mind for God knows how long, you know, and I always get the 12, but in the middle this is the number 13. So this is 12 plus 1 is 13. And 30, yeah, here it comes. It's coming up my spine now. It's, I've said this before to try and explain to people. It comes up my left leg. It pops into my left testicle, right? And then it sort of activates my spine and then starts to flow up through the crown, right? So when I say things that are correct, apparently, you know, I see, and I get this thing as well. Go for it, son. You're in the flow. So this is the 13. You know, but this is the one. This is the Christ center. This is the heart and the soul. And this really is where all the information and your innate intelligence lies. And this will guide the human being and navigate them through the processes that are coming up. You know, but there are 12 spheres here, and maybe we'll talk about that on a different day. But each of these 12 spheres represents a human potential. Each one of them is a different potential at a different frequency, at a different stream of consciousness. And it's almost like going into the biggest library in the world and going to various stacks, right, to find out information on various things. So these are the skills, these are the disciplines, these are the attributes, these are the disciples, these are the 12 cranial nerves, these are the 12 meridians, these are the 12 tribes, and 12 this and 12 that, and anybody else who knows me. So that's what we're going to be talking about. And I honestly believe that there's a language that is manifest at all these different spheres, and that different people will need to listen into different languages in order to reset them in the center here. And I'll shut up now, except for, and this is apparently the way we do it. This is chromato-optogenetics. Don't worry too much about that. But it just means basically the use of sound and vision. And what popped into my head today is, Joe, language should be seen and not heard, right? And I thought, well, what do you mean by that? Just tell them it's not just about listening. It's all about watching as well, because light's important, movement's important. And really, where the human race has gone the wrong way round and has tried to develop the brain, right? It's really this that needs redeveloping and reconnecting with, you know. And some of the techniques that you and I will show people, you know, we can't do this for anybody else. I know that. They've got to do them themselves if they feel that it's okay, you know, because this could all be nonsense. I will shut up and give you the go in a minute. I'll be back in a minute. But, you know, we've tried to go that way down and develop our intellect and our logical mind, when in actual fact, if we develop our heart, we can actually change the way our brain waves work. And this is neuroscientifically been shown now, right? And we can do that by letting go and basically seeing what happens next, but asking, I don't know. This is talking. This surrenders the ego to say, I don't know what to do. I'm a bit stuck. I've come to the end of me thinking. Hello, heart and soul. I believe that if I ask you and listen in properly, you will guide me through the next stage of my evolution. And basically, that's what I did. It's changed my life completely. And I'm sorry for going on, but I think, I don't know whether that's made any sense, but over to you to see anything emerge from there.
Oh, I love this. I absolutely love this. I think the science behind things, and when we get more and more science on these things, it's super fascinating. And there's so many things I was thinking as you were going on. Like the first image you had, like on the right side, besides the big one, that was, you know, with the chakras and the spheres.
Yeah.
That's very similar to how I see the body when I go in and work with a client. Because the structure on how I see things open up, because what I use, if now it depends, of course, with what the client comes with, but if I'm going in and doing some energy work, I always go in together with the client, and I go in with the breath, and then it comes from the chakras, right? So I see where there's anything we need to open, or where there's something, you know, that needs to be released. And when I come like deeply into an energy center, that's when I start seeing the other points that are starting to emerge, and I can see it more and more like out from a chakra, and it's pretty similar to what you showed, like all these new points coming up, and how the structure is actually not only in the body, it's really multidimensional. It's like you can see it both in the energetic field, in the physical body, like almost like a map, but then also when you come more deeply into it, it's like it's really multidimensional. And I think that's where we have what they're saying now as I'm talking, that's where the activation of our DNA is actually happening, and our remembrance coming back. And I think what you said with the heart and the brain, opposite, the heart and the brain. Well, I really use that a lot in my own physical healing. So when I came to the stage when I was able to start retraining my body physically and start moving my body again, what I did was I was practicing heart-brain coherence before I went to the gym, or, you know, just out in the garden or wherever I was doing my, you know, my exercise. And I practiced staying as much as I could and as close as I could to a heart and brain coherence while I was doing it, to reprogram the body, it worked very well. So I think that's a really important part for people to understand, also coming from a very physical, you know, point of view, because it's a lot of healing in that. And also what I kept saying in the beginning, when you started showing this, is the sound and light. That's also the future of the medicine.
Yeah.
So when you said that that's the beginning, what I kept hearing is just it's the beginning, but it's also the future. It's really everything. Everything is sound and light. And it's when we start to understand more of this, the future, what we perceive as the future anyways of medicine, is actually going to open up. And they showed me that just like a womb, which they haven't showed me it in the same way, but it's like it's almost like a fetus now, the future of medicine, and it's being held in there, and it will open up, and it's all about sound and light.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
And I see when you said about the womb and the fetus, I see that the umbilical cord and the universe as well, and this child almost like floating through this.
Yes.
So and I know that you know the importance of breath work, you know, and how simple that there's an intricate and intimate relationship between the way that we breathe and the quality of our breathing. I mean that the subtle emotional feelings and our mood state, how that impacts directly upon how our brain works. So this is about coming back into understanding how motivation works, emotion works, and this is for a few down the line here. You know, I can feel it. It's almost like that we're getting a sort of, this is what's coming up.
Yes.
You know, but if the breath work's important, and we can go into yogic connections, the Vedic connections, and all that. But even which nostril you breathe through predominantly will determine the way that you behave. And this is like, it's just so far out, right? Yeah. But, you know, left nostril, moon breath, right nostril, you know, sun breath. It's balancing those really and working with the central one, you know. And so we can talk about these.
Yeah.
Innate intelligence is in there. The con job has happened in there. That's where our naivete, right, has allowed us to be oppressed and misdirected, you know. So what I said is, metaphorically, take our head off, because it's basically of no use to us whatsoever initially. Throw it away and just work with feelings. And those feelings from innate intelligence will guide our thinking. So it's not the other way around. It's, please give me what I need, not what I want. Give me what I need, but I need to know. No, you don't, right? Because if we tell you what's coming up,
sounds pretty much like my mind.
Yeah. So you'll get what you need to know on a need to know basis, right? Because you, Mr. Ego, if we tell you what's coming up, you'll try and avoid.
Exactly. And I think that really has a lot to do with fear. I think that's like, if our brains were more developed, we wouldn't use that in a good way with all the fear we hold in our fields currently, which is, you know, in my opinion, parts of why the things in the world is happening, you know, over the last years, because it's really triggering the fear, so that we have to feel it. We have to, you know, we have to relate to it. We have to find out how to deal with it, and we have to release what's held in us of that fear. And that's what I've been talking about really lately in channelings as well, because it's all about coming deeper into the heart. But if we are not grounding into the body, meaning coming into also the lower chakras where we hold fear, we are actually holding back our life force energy. And the more we are coming into that energy of taking action, actually being, you know, inspired, the creative energy, the sexual energy, the kundalini, you know, whatever name you want to put on it. If we have a lot of fear, we would either try to use the ego or control it in some way or project something, or we will just hold that life force energy back. And so the more we actually release of that fear, and the more we understand also that we are not our emotions, because if we don't have fear of our emotions, we will actually stay in the body much more, right? And so the more we are able to embody and to come into those lower chakras and release fear, that's like one of the main things, then there will be more life force energy starting to move in the body, starting to move through the sacral, starting to actually want to express. And with that energy, that will come into the heart, and that's what's actually giving us a new opening of the heart that we haven't seen on this planet yet, is what keeps coming through. And I think that's so fascinating, because that again shows how important the energy is and the physical. Like it's so connected.
Yes, it was here. I just let me say this bit and see where we go from here. So what I got was, because I did this today, and I maybe do it later, we've got time. I used the 12-dimensional map, you know, because I see that as the body. I see it as the body. It's a spherical thing. It's not just a flat thing, you know. So I see it like you, or we see bodies and obstructions in the same way. But what I got was like, come in number 12. So I got like, you know, you can do a raffle if you like, Joe, you know, just take the numbers, right? Pick a number out, right? And the language will come. And I thought, oh, I'm gonna, you know, have to play around with that first, you know.
Yes.
But this is a light-hearted thing, this really, you know,
yes,
because light-heartedness is the key, you know, but more and more stuff will flow out as we emerge and keep opening. And no one needs to worry that they'll be overpowered or possessed by anything that's stronger than them if they work from the heart first and foremost, because that's the governor, right? That's the regulator. And that's the thing that will guide us, right, in equalizing and rebalancing everything that's gone on. But you got to trust it, really. And if you can say to him, if it's a bit too much, you can say, can you slow down a bit and give me this more gently? Anyway, I digress. I think our friends are here, right?
You think?
Oh, no, I don't think. I know that today, you know, my left testicle told me that today. Maybe you need to balance me right when I was a bit more and sit that way around. I don't know, you know. So Kristin, shall we carry on our conversation that we started in Houston and see what happens? Right.
Definitely.
And I do know one thing though, that the deep one, the rock voice, mightn't pick up the recording. I've tried it on various audio settings, and sometimes it goes a bit low to be picked up. So if it happens, you might see my mouth moving, nothing coming out of it. Okay.
Yeah.
Hello.
Hire hoa kaien in the heka.
Me go kusutio. Tio, it's got the other worship.
The rotutur kun lera tairu tuon lera tir kun nara le churun lera tairu ung der churletia.
Because you to moschede. O so te no grajud ne atreshudi. Ancora Sampieronte c'è Morotto c'è vuole tatu se mo di corazon traje.
Cheruru tu rotu aratu lera tara ayaru aratu cherkite.
Because of the motor at Sampio Chiocramasete, Sobra Nico, Sobra Carvasco, Santo Shebra, Sobra Catundere, Zebra, Totus, Calamity Grotto, has sacked the hot day, Haran.
Triuru to cherry or wrote arachurk, arat.
Abus William to Codeshe, Sabat, Natushi, Ala Summer Hunter Masanka, Hasapragun, Saprago, Motasia Tante Carabazunta, I might get that. Maar toch zie je het dat zo de hoort hur niets pronda alto cosma atro.
Cherukulu tura tijurulere nera hart nerata.
Immers dat corrisem tausje, ne? Hoe is het?
Cherurul lere aru unchine.
Maar seru oden super andosje.
Der run yarat uhair uint reche. Ja kan ja.
Maar god kesperot. Oh, je seperti itu Missouri dam tas mana we. Matar nos.
Chilirana hayoruna heka yenurun maleru tuayeka walara chuluruna lalura mayakwa tru chulurana ya.
Matos pero toshe ma we.
Chilurumba aun cheralarene harunya.
Lactoshim era toshe ya. Muratashi ene kuts alem to kukus adot akna akasharwana.
Rechuru urakna larata ayaka o oint und oint.
At us. Oh. Hoi.
Chilororeta la te kuait arch kiait eka.
Hora.
Geralira tu
Muito così am esperan. Laiot shibara under ma conta son paran is wasane.
Nirwanta.
Wat su era pati honest.
Trewait in tuhanka.
Shibara under mas shibara od
Geler eterot ma babanta char ta unch pant churungtnaha.
Good.
Chien krongta ba am ponchuruk panta vrinta kianka. Kien pata chunka heratai kahika.
Makore se pide. Sabere entish ls mudaram atishbe.
Chera enta, gerenta, gerenta, chaka.
Matisse ere pot.
Terelera tatara by vibration, terelera kriti ampa, chirukutaha. Tirian diaka. Eka. Eka. Cerata ancora to ait o giurukuta cerata retarata cikrete inta pa ceratua cerakata a krukto ko krakata kai kura shularat anko ointra ko ointra kataka ai ko cerakat eka
Matosh erotush
ointra tarelera meka cerakata kulura
Mayata Surian, but Koshen and the Koshen Yetimon Sura, Nititisha and the Copa, Niatako ship and a Santa Mai to She, Natash ek Musuriti, Lato Sumtara, Niato Shanderbait Nehot Ascenti.
cerulorandara tuara tareranta pero chular katakata terrakla kataka cemarakta.
Enough for now.
Rakayanka tarachele.
So what I got from that was get back in your bodies, basically.
That to me felt like a multidimensional anatomy class.
Yeah. And when I do it, and I'm being honest, when I do it, it's happening over there. I'm over there, and I'm still saying, is this really happening? Because sometimes it comes in and I've got no doubt whatsoever what's happening. But sometimes I do have doubts that creep in, and I guess that's just parts of my ego that haven't fully surrendered yet. I'm not really bothered, about that. But do you feel the same way, or are you able to let go completely and allow this happen, or what?
I think it's very healthy to have some, to be critical, but not so much doubt that you actually stop yourself. So I think a healthy balance is good. And I mean, I do the same with when I go into a trance channeling. I think it with the light language, or like when I listen to a recording of myself, it's like, oh my goodness, did I just go like completely crazy? Or and also like with the whole field of spirituality of ascension, like what if ascension isn't real? What if that's only a program as well? Like I have to go there because I think in order to stay in integrity with the work I do, I have to also be able to go to that length of actually letting go of my idea of what is true being wrong. It's so that's for my own integrity.
Yeah. I'm exactly the same. I mean, as I said at the start, I don't want to fool myself. I don't want to be fooled. I don't want to feel so. I'll just be honest with people and say, this is what I'm feeling. This is what I'm seeing. And what really makes it powerful, right, is, and I have people who help me as well. And they've said to me, you need to practice it more and more in the day and also use different music and different tones. And I know I put a piece of music on today and it was in straight away. It was straight in. The energy was there and it was all flowing. And there's still Joe's part was, God, I hope it's like this tonight, because there's like, I've still got a showman in me, you know what I mean? And that's the thing, and I have, right? But
that's the awareness of I'm actually human. I have these ideas and I want things to be a certain way. But if I'm able to be in the observer mode and actually watch myself and be aware of what my mind is doing, be aware of what my emotions are telling me or guiding me, it's the observer point, because then some of, I mean, there were things I thought 2 years ago that I now understand was only like a small understanding of something, and my perspective has shifted. And I really hope that 2 years from now or 10 years from now, my perspective in a lot of things have kept evolving.
yeah.
So
We think the same way.
it's
I mean,
not
that's
about like things being either right or wrong, or it's the same like going into a trance channel. It's still a perspective. It's not the one and only truth. It's a perspective. And the more perspectives we are able to actually access and discuss and look at from different angles, we evolve and our awareness expands. And I think that's why we're here. It's to expand.
I think so as well. And it's to put ourselves aside, because I like the St. Francis of Assisi prayer, although I'm not religious, but I like it. It's only by self-forgetting that one finds. And that means if you can forget the ego self, right,
Yeah.
you will find your big self with the big S, really.
Yes.
And I think
that's
that's
a remembrance.
Pardon?
If you forget, you remember.
Exactly, yeah. So we live in this sort of ironic, paradoxical world, really, where what we think we know blocks what we need to know, really,
Yes,
and stuff.
exactly.
So, and what's happening to me now is, you see, I've got this thing going up here from the left side. It's going up here into this part of my head, and it's like another area's opened, or there's like little electrical stuff going on here. And I think what happens to me is 2 or 3 days later, it's like a new stream of information comes in. Kristin, my desire is, and it's a desire, and I think it's a healthy desire, is to improve myself or be improved by this force, and I think Christian people say it's only by the grace of God. And I think what we need to do is, the grace of God to me is called the evolutionary impulse, which is this Kundalini force, or call it what you like, evolutionary impulse or evolutionary imperative. The more that we get out of the way, the more that redevelops us to what we already are and were anyway, And I know that's like paradoxical guru speak, but that's where I'm up to with me feeling and me understanding, really.
Yes, and I think some of the key in that is to take it out of the religious ideologies or the guru, like in the old yoga traditions, or because then there's always like there's a middleman or 10 middlemen, and it's really, it's us, it's in us, and that's what we're remembering, and that's what we need to allow to come through. And then we have to be in the body, because being in the body is actually the way to access what's outside of the body.
I agree, and I
And
think
if we are
also,
distracted by someone that we're putting up on a pedestal,
yeah,
we are just, we continue putting our energy out of the body.
yeah, no, I agree, and I think the more that I can feel this energy moving around my body, the more I can almost like contain it in certain areas. A bit martial artics this, and it's the power comes from within, really, you know, and you can almost like direct it to various parts to de-obstruct and also to tone and to train various areas. So what I've been told is that I need to be like Charles Atlas. This is funny, this, and Charles Atlas was Mr. Universe. Right? Look, this is funny because I get like laughing in the background here. But he was an expert. He didn't use weights, but he used dynamic tension. And he became an expert without using weights, just by using breath work and focus. Right. And that's what they've told me. You, fatso. You know, if you want to improve things, you're going to have to start doing some toning work, but you don't need any weight. So that's what they've told me. I'll give it a bash, right? You know, and see what happens, really, you know.
I'll be curious to hear your experience with that.
Right. Because I'll have, you know, because at the moment I've just like got a 1-pack, you know what I mean? But I'll I'll work my way forward to a 12-pack, 1 pack at a time, really. No.
Amazing.
Hey, but hey, there's no better dancer on the planet than Dr. Joe.
Oh, I saw you in the background river dancing in Houston. I love that. I love that.
Oh, look at the back again. Look, having a laugh, you know. So there we go. Kristin, my love, thank you so much. I love the bones of you, and thank you so much. And we'll see how this develops now. And for everybody who's watching, I hope that you've got something from that. By all means, please put some questions and comments up, and we'll try. And the next time we do this, and I don't know when that's going to be, it'll just all fall into time. We'll try and answer some of these things and maybe go along. And for those people who just want to hear light language all the way through, no, you can't, right? Because we've got to try and explain this as we can. And you know who you are.
Yes, and I really love it, because it's, for me, the experience as we are having like the conversation, I feel I'm really being taught. Like it's explanations. I see more and more layers of the body and the energy of the body as we talk. So it's amazing. I love, my mind anyway slows to understand a bit more. Yeah, it feels like it's opening a lot. I love this. I'm so glad we have connected.
Oh, me too, and we have a laugh as well, which is great, you know. So
oh, definitely.
All right, yeah. All right then, my darling. So thanks very much, and yeah, that was good. Just over an hour, so that's great. And I'll go off now. I've got curry and rice to look forward to, so I'm going to go and have some curry and rice. Very nice.
Amazing.
Enjoy. Made by my own fair hand. Well, wow. I put it like in a packet and put some water in it like that. So I'll see you next time. Pardon?
Next will be a cooking class with Dr.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. The world of cooking from spirit, right? Right. Yeah, it'll just say, just breathe.
Yes.
Breathe. And by the way, I'm not ready to become a breatharian yet. Thanks very much if you're listening.
Oh, me neither. I love
it. Yeah. All right then, my love. So lots of love to you and yours, and a very, very happy new year. And we'll see what comes out in the next few weeks or so.
Yes, and same to you.
And thank you. And thanks everybody for listening, and see you soon. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.